We're live.
Thank you, Connor. Good morning. This is a convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. I'm Jordan Maynard. I'm serving as chair. Today is Thursday, October 9th. It's approximately 10:08 a.m. Meeting number 567. We're hosting this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
And good morning, Commissioner Broder.
Good morning, I am here.
All right, we're going to start out with 4 sets of minutes, and for that, we're going to kick it over to Secretary Broder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have, as you said, 4 sets of minutes that we'll be considering in 2 separate votes or 2 separate motions. So initially, I move that the commission approve the minutes from the following public hearings as included in the commissioner's packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters. And the 2 we are first considering are May 9th, 2024 and May 23rd, 2024.
Second,
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
I'm sorry. May 9th, 2024. I wasn't present at that meeting, so I'm going to ask that we take these votes separately.
So 3
Very good.
votes.
Yeah, there's 3 tranches, I think.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So Commissioner Broder, you could either make a new motion or someone can amend it.
I would move to amend and have just the first date that we move for first. Is that what, May 9th?
Yep.
2024.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
I abstain.
Commissioner Broder,
I abstain as well.
and I'm yes, 3 and 2 abstention. And I assumed, Commissioner Broder, pulling out my Robert's rules, that you accepted that amendment. Sorry about that.
That is correct. That is correct. So part 2 of 3, I move the commission approve the minutes from the following public hearing as included in the commissioner's packet, subject to any necessary corrections or corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters. And the date of this set is May 23rd, 2024.
It's a meeting, not a hearing, just for clarity of the record.
Ah, terrific.
And second.
All right. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and I vote yes.
I abstain.
Oh, Commissioner Broder, I am
It's all good.
sorry.
It's all good. I'm feeling good about this next motion. Everyone ready? I move that the commission approve the minutes of the following public meetings as included in the commissioner's packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters. And those dates are September 9th, 2025 and September 11th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
I abstain, but note for the record, the September 9th, 2025, that has me included in the roll call after the break. Just noting that for the team for correction.
thank you. Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 4 and 1 abstention, and we'll make that. That's one of those typographical errors and non-material matters. All right, we'll change that. Thank you, Secretary Broder. Thank you to the legal team. I noticed that these dates are very current.
We're creeping up.
And that's it's unlike 2 secretaries ago when I was doing. So good work. Anything else on this matter, Secretary?
No, Mr. Chairman, we're good for now. Stay tuned for some executive session minutes later in the program.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to turn it over to item number 3. And for that, it's a presentation on sports wagering VIP programs. We're going to kick it over to the Division Chief of Sports Wagering, Carrie Teresi, and Director Mark Vanderlinden. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and
Good morning.
Commissioners. So the Sports Wagering and Research and Responsible Gaming divisions have been looking into sports wagering VIP programs. This is largely an unregulated area at the moment, so we've been reviewing with an eye towards developing a regulatory framework and implementing some guardrails should the Commission decide to do so. Before we get started, I do want to thank our consultants, Keith White and Creo Evidence Insights, who helped us with some of this research. So I will share my screen. So we are going to provide you today with some information about VIP programs generally, then a summary of information that we received from our Massachusetts operators with respect to their VIP programs, and then some possible next steps. We do recognize that this is the first time you're discussing this issue and you may not be ready to decide on next steps today, so we can certainly come back at a later date to discuss further. So with that, I will turn it over to Director Vanderlinden to discuss VIP programs generally.
Great. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I think before we talk about VIP programs, I think it's important to also just understand generally about loyalty programs. So loyalty programs are a marketing strategy to promote continued patronage by rewarding points for the amount of money spent gambling with a specific operator. They can be redeemed for a number of different benefits, whether it's gambling credits, cash, entertainment, food, or accommodations. And there are tiers, obviously, based upon the amount of money that you're spending or the amount of time that you're spending. And those tiers have different benefits. So now to talk more about VIP programs specifically. So if you think about the loyalty programs, VIP programs are that highest level tier. And that persons involved in VIP programs are considered high value customers, or commonly known as HVCs. VIP customers, VIP programs, I should say, are invite only, and they're deemed for a higher value and wagering larger amounts of money regularly. These VIP customers oftentimes receive much better rewards, and oftentimes non-monetary rewards like preferential treatment, tickets, hotel stays, etc. VIP customers, studies have shown that while VIP customers are few in number, they actually represent a high percentage of total betting volume and gross gaming revenue at major operators. Slide, Carrie. Okay. So we working with GRIO, the evidence assessing harms linked specifically to membership in VIP programs is somewhat limited. I would like to say, however, the FY26 research agenda that the Gaming Commission approved back in May included a specific study looking at VIP programs. So more to come in that. However, given that gambling frequency and spending a substantial amount of money on gambling are associated with greater risks of gambling-related harm, it follows that loyalty and VIP programs would be associated with higher risk gambling behavior. But to kind of highlight what we do know from the limited literature review that GRIO helped out with, that findings from an audit and literature review in Victoria, Australia found that loyalty and programs and their associated incentives and marketing may appeal disproportionately to people who are already at risk of experiencing gambling-related harms. In fact, another study from Australia found that loyalty program members were almost 3 times more likely to engage in moderate or problem gambling than non-members. The UK Gambling Commission, also a source that I think that we can draw some information from, they had a report on high value customers that found that people who spend more time and or money gambling are at greater risk of gambling related harm. So there's also a lot of pressure to maintain or increase status once you're in a VIP program. So being in a higher tier of loyalty program gives customers a sense of status, which can encourage them to spend more money than they would otherwise to achieve that higher tier. So tier structures can also kind of create this pressure for people to make additional purchases, especially if they're closer to qualifying for that higher tier. So, for example, there could be communication that would say that you have X more points in order to become a gold member or a VIP, and you have to do it by this date in order to achieve that. And so it's that type of pressure that, of course, you want the benefits of these VI to be a VIP. But you need to obviously spend more in a certain period of time in order to achieve that. There was also a study by Del Fabro in the Journal of Behavioral Addictions back in 2020 that found that loyalty and VIP programs can encourage people who have resolved to stop gambling or problem gamblers to return to gamble so that they can maintain that loyalty tier or achieve that higher tier. So people that are actually seeking to either reduce or stop gambling, these types of loyalty programs or VIP status actually can work against their resolve to do so. I'll turn it back over to Carrie.
All right, so thank you, Mark. So we sent a number of questions to our Massachusetts operators in the spring to learn about their VIP programs. So the next set of slides here is a summary of the responses that we received from Massachusetts operators. So I'll get into a little bit more detail, but first, we did see a significant variation in programs among operators, but that they all are based on high frequency and or spend in terms of who is in a VIP program. We also found that most responsible gaming measures specific to VIP programs appear to be passive, meaning that it requires some sort of statement or trigger from the player themselves in order for the RG team to be brought in or for it to be flagged to the RG team in some way. And we also found that most operators don't have specific responsible gaming measures for VIP programs. So again, these are just summaries of what we heard from our operators, but they summarize what we heard in response to the specific questions that we asked. So I'll walk through these as well. We asked what criteria are generally used in deciding whether to assign a VIP host to someone or put someone in the VIP program. And these are some of the things we heard. Expected revenue or long-term value of the customer, deposit size or frequency, bet size, frequency or amount, or the types of bets placed. We asked if any operators perform affordability checks. Generally, the answer was no. There are some that do perform affordability checks, but they're not specifically tied to VIP programs. They're a bit more broad than that. And we did ask if they use AI with respect to their VIP programs or specifically in deciding who should become a VIP. And we did hear that some use machine learning models to identify potential VIPs, but there's generally a manual review for the ultimate decision. We asked about the criteria for continuous assessment, meaning whether to keep someone in the VIP program. And here are some things that we heard: level of play, deposit activity, amount wagered, interactions with the host, account suspensions, promotion abuse, or AML indications. In a similar vein, we asked what the criteria might be to decide whether to remove someone from the VIP program. We heard maybe responsible gaming concerns, AML or fraud concerns at the specific request of the customer, customer conduct with respect to how they're treating their host, promotional abuse, decrease in deposits or wagering activity, or where applicable, insufficient affordability review. We asked about what types of incentives are provided to VIPs. I think this is sort of general knowledge, but we heard loyalty points, bonuses, event tickets, gifts and merchandise, those sorts of things. And then we asked a number of questions about communication between the host and the VIP. And here are some things that we learned. Generally, communication is required to be done on an official device. It can't be done on personal devices between the host and the VIP. They will cease communicating with the VIP if the player requests that, if they decide that they don't want their host reaching out to them anymore. This third bullet is sort of what I flagged in the summary, that they noted that they'll escalate to the responsible gaming team if there are triggering statements made, such as requests for help, financial concerns, health or safety concerns, or significant changes in betting amount or frequency. This was sort of the point that it's quite passive, that it requires some sort of statement or action from the player themselves in order for it to be escalated to the responsible gaming team. And then finally, some had procedures for when a patron stops responding and some didn't. So these ranged from, ceasing communications to continuing outreach. So there was quite a spectrum there in terms of how they handle when a patron just simply stops responding but hasn't requested to be removed from the program. We asked what types of incentives the VIP hosts receive. Most did report some type of incentives for hosts, but some were team-based and not directly tied to their VIPs. And then some reported incentives tied to customer retention, revenue, and referrals. We asked about the tiers of their programs, sort of as Mark was discussing. Generally, they did report that they have tiered VIP programs where sort of the highest value customers might be at the highest tier. And then we did ask if they typically have only one VIP host assigned to them, and we did hear that the answer was yes to that question. Finally, we asked for some metrics. We asked about the percentage of VIPs who use responsible gaming tools. These are all averages here among all of our operators, but the range for the use of RG tools was 10 to 35% of VIPs. We asked about the average age of a VIP. Again, this is an average among our operators, but it ranged from late 30s to early 40s. And the average time as a VIP was 10 months among our operators. Director Vanderlinden and I also considered possible next steps here, ranging from more data and information requests to a possible regulatory framework. So I'll discuss data and information a bit and then turn it back over to Mark. So of course, there is a lot that we could continue to learn. We could seek information about the percentage of revenue that comes from VIPs. And again, for those tiered programs, we would likely want a breakdown by tier of where the bulk of the revenue is coming from for those VIPs. We could seek the total handle for individual VIPs and get a bit more information specifically there. We could request logs of communication between VIPs and their hosts. I think this would help us to review in more detail what types of statements patrons are making that might cause that RG intervention, or if we feel that there are moments where intervention should have occurred but didn't. So it would help to take a closer look at that. We could request a further breakdown regarding the percentage of VIP players who've used RG tools. Again, I noted that it ranged from about 10 to 35%, but we asked only generally. We didn't really get into specifics of which tools they're using, demographics, that sort of thing. And then finally, we noted we could seek demographic data comparing VIPs to the overall player base at our operators. So then I will turn it back over to Mark to discuss possible regulatory framework.
Great, thank you. So I'm gonna just kind of go through a number of different possibilities here. So first, clearly define what VIP customers are, parameters around what VIP programs are. Perhaps even set a minimum age for VIP status. We say 25, but I think that there isn't any clear evidence on 25. It could be a different age. Ensure that staff who manage VIP high value customers are effectively trained, and that could be enhanced RG training, AML risk training. It could also be performance management, where you prioritizing the commercial pressures must not override sort of regulatory considerations and overall customer welfare. And perhaps even that staff shouldn't be incentivized whether or paid based upon the customer's loss over a period of time. Limit the number and amount of bonuses provided to VIPs, require reporting of complaints of any high value customers or just regarding the VIP program, and even require an annual submission on their policies related to VIPs. So some other considerations that we wanted to highlight or conduct checks before making a customer a VIP, including affordability, meaning establishing that the spending is not only affordable at the time, but it's also sustainable as part of the customer's leisure spend. Safer gambling in order to assess whether there's evidence of gambling related harm currently, and enhanced due diligence, meaning to ensure that they have data related to sort of who it is that's being invited into the VIP program. Rather than make limit setting or RG tools an opt-in, make them an opt-out. Promote the lower risk gambling guidelines to loyalty program members. We promote the lower risk gambling guidelines sort of across the board through the GameSense program currently, but there could be a specific initiative around promoting them for VIP or high value customers. Eliminate the time sensitive or risk promoting incentives. Much as I said before, there's a lot of pressure in order to meet a certain deadline in order to be promoted into a VIP status. You could remove those types of time sensitive incentives. And that if there is a request to be removed from the program, that it should be done so immediately without any delay. Next slide. Okay, so that kind of concludes our presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm on a different device, so I'm going to have trouble with this unmute. Commissioner Hill and then Commissioner Broder, I saw at the same time. So Commissioner Hill.
What are other jurisdictions doing in this regard, if any?
Carrie, I think that was something that in the US, the UK Gambling Commission certainly has specific policies around this. Within the US, Carrie, I'm not sure if we have that information.
Yeah, we don't. I don't believe anyone in the US has a framework around this, but I certainly could be wrong. So we could look further into that as well.
And we took a look at what's happening in the UK through the UK Gambling Commission, and some of the work that the GRIO Evidence Insights did for us cited a couple studies from UK.
They did a great job over in the UK, is what I will say. And then I also, by the way, I just switched to grid view and I see that everybody has their mute off. So, Commissioner Broder, Commissioner O'Brien, Commissioner Skinner.
Commissioner Hill, you all good?
Yes.
Awesome. So I guess what I'm trying to, I think there's a cause for concern here, obviously, and I suspect a need for more data, as I will say that I think there is a legitimate function for some of the VIP programming to defend market share in a marketplace that seems to be all about market share, but that obviously can have some good and bad impacts. What I'd be interested to know, I guess, is what they tell customers when they offer the VIP program and when they suggest, a higher level of incentive, if that's even the way it works, because the discussion we're having is important and a great start, but it is a little antiseptic, i.e., you know, to say incentives means one thing, but if you find out that someone is getting, you know, when we hear things anecdotally, it's pretty scary, the level of incentive for folks that I would think of, again, anecdotally, as not heavy players, are really, really, really disturbing incidents. I'm wondering, you know, kind of how the whole thing works in that sense. What is the level of incentive and what gets you to that particular level? I think is a very interesting proposition. I'm wondering if it would be very interested to know if the interaction between the request for RG services and program enrollment, if that gets you bounced out, if that is a factor in terminating someone from VIP status. And you mentioned like a potential, I think, Carrie, I think you mentioned this potential to review those interactions. Are the operators required to retain the interactions or call logs or whatever the case may be when their hosts communicate with VIPs? If not, they really should be, because that's how we could, you know, that is a treasure trove of information potentially.
Yeah, I think, you know, right now, because we don't have a framework around this, that would be an operator specific question, which we can certainly find out. I think it's a great point that if we do establish some sort of guardrails, that's a requirement that would make sense for us to implement.
And so Brad asked correctly what other jurisdictions are doing. Is it correct? I assume that there's been private litigation around VIP programming, either on a class action basis or certainly built into allegations of individual player harm lawsuits, you know, brought by patrons. Is that correct?
Yeah, I could just say, you know, some of this is just me looking at news scans, that there
Sure.
are a number of pretty high profile cases where customers have filed suits against companies. But, you know, that's just anecdotally that I'm speaking
Sure.
of.
And that might not be, assuming there is a body of litigation out there.
Yeah.
If it is, you know, all kind of on the same theme around these programs, that might be a place to look to figure out where we should prioritize either frameworks or regulation, because there's a million things we could do, and how we can, you know, distill that down to what is the most effective and appropriate for player protection. Might be a good avenue, again, just to focus our efforts, because there's just so much unknown out there. I think that might be helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder. Commissioner O'Brien.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. This is something that I know we've all been talking about for a while. The UK model in particular is something that I know I've had the opportunity to get briefed on in more detail. I know some of us have. I wouldn't mind getting a more public discussion of that, what that is, and also what the either federal or state privacy protection, I'm going to say challenges, but countervailing protections might have on that, right? That even if we were to try to say we're adopting this, there may in fact be sort of statutory hurdles to us doing that. And what would that look like? Echoing a lot of what Commissioner Broder said, the gifts, the merchandise, the events, that sort of thing. I'd love to get more information about in kind, what we're talking about, and then also the range, right? What are we talking about? I mean, you're going up to giving them a Maserati, you know, or are you just talking about, you know, maybe tickets to a game that they comp because they have a box? I'd love to know, A, what it is, and B, is it tied in some way also to activity or loss? I want to know what kind of responsible training and or any type of training these VIP hosts get as they're onboarded and sort of authorized to then be handling someone and incentivizing them to bet. And then one of the most troubling aspects I see to this that I want more information on, and I would see us proposing some sort of regulations. We did third-party marketing. We were all very disturbed by people who were going to get incentivized by click retention bets. And we said we weren't going to allow it. And so the fact that this may be in-house to me does not eliminate my discomfort with that. And so for me, I want more information about what exactly are the host incentives when it comes to compensation, whether it's a team or individualized. And I want to know what, if anything, we can do in terms of regulation on that. The same way we said you can't compensate your third-party marketers that way. I would like to see some disconnect between that so that you're not having, this happens in the financial industry too, right? And I don't think disclosure of the fact that they say, Fred, I'm going to get 5% of all your handle. But something along those lines. What are the options once we have more information about how that's working? Those are the areas I'm interested in. Love that we're having this conversation. Finally, I know it's been a lot of work to get us here, and looking forward to continuing it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Skinner.
Chair, I am all set. My comments, questions, requests for information have all been encapsulated by my fellow commissioners. So I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just say, thank you, Commissioner. VIP programs should be for those who can afford to be VIPs, and it shouldn't be predatory. And this jurisdiction cares about things like that. And to me, this goes hand in hand with the conversation that we've just had on limiting and that we continue to have on limiting. And I think you hear every commissioner here express an interest in ensuring that no one is being preyed upon. And I support getting additional data. I support everything that every other commissioner has asked. I know that we don't know the exact answer to Commissioner Hill's inquiry, but I do know anecdotally we would be among one of the first jurisdictions to tackle this issue in the United States. So I want to make sure that we do so with care, but also that we don't let that stop us. I like being the first jurisdiction to be able to do anything if we have the resources to do it, and we do. And so I look forward to having a continued conversation on this. And again, VIP programs should be for those who can afford to be VIPs.
Great.
Do you have what you need?
Yeah, this was very helpful. Thank you. I think this was great direction for us to get moving on some further steps here. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Mark. All right. With that, commissioners, we're going to turn it over to the Investigations and Enforcement Bureau. Looks like we have about 4-ish matters on there. 4-ish is a legal term of art now. Director Monahan.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I am having a camera challenge, which I will fix in the next few minutes. But we have a couple of matters for the commission this morning. The first two are briefing on non-compliance matters. And this is the first time the commission will have heard these matters, and we'll be asking for a determination on next steps. So I'd like to ask Nate to address the first one for us.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you, Caitlin. These first two matters I'll be presenting to you today. We're looking for guidance as to next steps. The two matters have a similar violation in nature. The first instance of non-compliance comes from temporary Category 3 sports wagering operator BetMGM. BetMGM offered wagers on 2 boxing matches sanctioned by the UAE Boxing Commission, which is a governing body not approved in Massachusetts. The IEB alleges these 2 matches are violations of 205 CMR 247011, 205 CMR 247012I, as well as the Massachusetts Sports Wagering Catalog. BetMGM accepted 79 wagers between June 22nd, 2025 and August 15th, 2025 for a total stake of $1,659.56. As we've traditionally done, the IEB receives guidance from the Commission as to whether this matter should be referred back to the IEB, set up for an adjudicatory hearing, or the Commission may issue its own civil administrative penalty under 23N, Section 16. I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Councilor Kennedy. Questions, commissioners? I see Commissioner Hill's mic went. Phew.
I'm okay referring this back to the IEB.
Commissioner O'Brien.
So Nate, is this the first time that any of our operators have unlawfully offered the UAE events?
This is the first of, I believe, the UAE violation, but we have heard previously similar non-sanctioned governing bodies offering or operators offering wagers on events that were from non-sanctioned governing bodies.
Okay, so can you speak at all? I'm kind of jumping to number 2. Why it is that in the same time frame you have 2 operators with the same unsanctioned governing body cropping up?
They actually have different root causes, DraftKings and BetMGM. The impression from, at this point, the preliminary information we've received, I'm also jumping to the second matter, which is DraftKings. DraftKings was under the understanding that the British Boxing Commission was offering these particular events, and the event sponsor or who was airing the event gave them that impression, when in fact it was the UAE Boxing Commission. So when they began offering, they were under the false impression that it was under an authorized governing body. However, BetMGM's, the preliminary information we've received is that it was a trading error or a trader error, so human error in permitting the market.
Okay. So not jumping ahead too much, but would love follow-up information in terms of whether that individual or entity that misrepresented to DraftKings actually is continuing to work with them in any other capacity, and whether you need to look at anything else that they've represented to them. But not jumping too far ahead, having answered that question, I'm fine with Commissioner Hill's inclination, which is to send it to IEB.
Thank you.
Commissioner Broder. Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what my previous commissioners have said, and just for, maybe, I don't know if this is something the EIB needs to clarify it for me, but in terms of when we refer back to you and you propose a sanction, you resolve the case, it's typically involves a couple of different things, correct? It involves a monetary penalty, but it also involves, essentially making the customer whole. Isn't that correct?
Certainly. It varies, the determination of whether or not there is a civil administrative penalty that is also case dependent.
Mm-hmm. And maybe, I mean, this is a more general question, I suppose. I didn't mean to put it in the context of these cases. I don't know if it's something that Caitlin would want to comment on, but just again, that general structure of relief when it is provided is the operator would essentially lose the profit. They would have to return funds to players who wagered on this, and certainly those who did not win, and also pay a fine over and above that. Correct?
Yes. So as you said, the structure is generally that the operator acts in the way you just described, refunds the losing wagers, allows the winning wagers to stand, and that we have not had to order ourselves because they've done it. Right. There was a conversation with the commission a few months ago. That is the practice that they have been abiding by. So we have not had to order that, although we could order that as part of a decision if necessary. And then there is often a monetary penalty, a civil administrative penalty associated with that. But as Nate said, it is case by case. We also have the ability to issue NONCs, notices of noncompliance. We have the ability to require remedial measures. So you've seen the same model a lot, but we do have some other tools in the toolbox.
I just thought it was important. I think some folks kind of have a misimpression about what the impact of this particular type of resolution of a matter is. So I appreciate the clarification.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Skinner, do you have any questions or comments?
Oh, I'm in agreement. Let's send this back to the IAB.
I will, thank you. I will take this opportunity to just say it this way. Commissioner Broder and I were thinking right on the same lines, is that, to be clear to the public, it's not a trade-off of a company being able to make a profit versus a fine amount. It's actually a company at the MGC so far has had to do both. They've had to undo their profit and their winnings and pay a fine on top of it. And so I think the Investigations and Enforcement Bureau is the gold standard, not only in Massachusetts, but in all of gaming regulation throughout the country. And they do a damn good job at what they do. And so what I would say is that with that, I would also send it back.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we're ready for agenda item B, Nate is also handling that one.
Yes, and as I had started to go into a little bit with Commissioner O'Brien, the second non-compliance event comes from Category 3 sports wagering operator Crown Mass Gaming, doing business as DraftKings. DraftKings offered wagering on 3 boxing matches sanctioned by the UAE Boxing Commission, which, as I mentioned, was a governing body not approved in Massachusetts. The IAB alleges these 3 matches are a violation of 205 CMR 247011, 205 CMR 247012I, and the Massachusetts Sports Wagering Catalog. DraftKings accepted 406 wagers between August 8th, 2025 and August 15th, 2025 for a total stake of $22,681.72. Again, we'll be seeking guidance from the commission with how we would handle these matters.
So just for the record, restating what I said before, which is I'm fine sending it back, although I would like you to determine whether that entity that misrepresented has anything else connected, whether that's something separate and apart from this non-compliance event or part of it. I'd leave it to your investigation.
Certainly. Thank you.
I'm fine with that as well, Mr. Chairman.
Same.
Commissioner Maynard, or Chair Maynard, you're on mute.
Thank you for doing that. Now I know who will point out if I have something on my face. Thank you, Councilor Kennedy. I agree. I'm in agreement.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Director Monahan.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda for the IAB is an overview of the durable suitability investigation process for sports wagering vendors. This is similar to a presentation that you heard a while back now about the durable suitability investigation process for sports wagering operators. And because we are going to be discussing investigatory materials related to the suitability investigations that were compiled out of the public view, disclosure of which would probably so prejudice the possibility of effective law enforcement that such disclosure would not be in the public interest, we would ask that this discussion be in an executive session.
So moved.
Thank
Do you need to read the language,
Second.
Mr. Chair?
I think Director Monahan was trying to help me out there. So let me say it this way. I think I can say that I would like to query the commissioners if we would like to move into executive session for the reasons Director Monahan just stated, and I would restate. And
Yes.
I got a Paul said, so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. And thank you, Caitlin, for that. All right, I think we can take that down. We just finished a robust conversation in executive session. And I believe we want to then move to sub item D.
Yes, Chair. We'd like to discuss the term of the sports wagering vendor licenses. Thank you, Lily. So, as we mentioned, we're always looking for efficiencies and ways to improve our processes with regard to investigations and with regard to licensing. And one of the things that we have noticed is that we currently have a 3-year vendor license for sports wagering. And the reason for that is basically it mirrors the gaming vendor licenses, which makes sense, right? That's what we put in place when we promulgated the regs for sports wagering. The difference here is that the gaming vendor licenses have a 3-year term by statute. We have a little bit more flexibility on the sports wagering vendor licenses. The commission set the 3-year term, the commission can change the 3-year term. So we went to take a look at some other jurisdictions, and we found that several jurisdictions that we are partners with and that we respect, including New Jersey, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana, have 5-year sports wagering vendor terms. And again, not to hide the ball, there are other states that we also respect and work with that have shorter terms or the same 3-year term, but there are a reasonable number of states that have a 5-year term. And so we thought about that a little bit. And the conclusion that we came to was that we thought we think that there is very little risk in potentially changing the sports wagering vendor term from 3 years to 5 years. And the reason for that is because sports wagering vendors have an ongoing duty to report. So if anything happens in that 5-year term, litigation, fines, they're suspended or unlicensed in another jurisdiction, we learn about all of that and we can take action on that quickly. Additionally, the sports wagering operators are on 5-year terms, so it would make sense to keep the vendors and the operators on the same term length. And that would also, in addition to sort of being low risk from our perspective, it also adds efficiency. So we don't have to look at all 30 or so sports wagering vendors every 3 years. We can extend that out to 5 years. It gives us a little bit more flexibility. So that is, something that we wanted to bring to the commission to get your first impression on. And if you were interested in potentially changing from a 3-year to a 5-year term, we can put a reg together and bring that forward to the commission for promulgation process. The other thing that I will note is, I think the main reason for changing the term length would be what I just talked about, right? The efficiencies, the lack of risk, et cetera. There's another reason that would be helpful in the short term. And that's that we are not going to finish the investigations for all the sports wagering vendors within that initial 3-year term. But if we extend it out to 5, I think it's likely that we'd complete most, if not all, of the investigations. So we wouldn't have to come back to the commission and ask for waivers on the length of the term of the temp licenses. But with that, I will pause and ask if there are any questions.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Broder.
Not so much a question as a statement. I want to remind folks that are paying attention to this kind of stuff that the commission will maintain its jurisdiction, its investigatory authority, its oversight of each of our licensees, our vendors, our operators, regardless of the time span between the resubmission of materials and a relicensing prospect, which I'm obviously telegraphing my support for bumping out to 5 years.
Any other, I'm having a hard time seeing everything where the slide is up. So any other commissioners, jump in.
And I think, Lily, we could probably take the slide down too for the conversation. Thank you so much.
Commissioner O'Brien, is that a yes? Commissioner Hill?
Yeah, I'm okay. I agree with the continued need for it. And obviously we're living it live and 3 years was not long enough. And so doing 5 I think does make sense. It's consistent with the brick and mortar side too. So no more leniency than we're giving to the other side.
Thank you. I agree. I think it just, first of all, I think we need a full and fulsome investigation, and I think that's the most important piece. And I don't want to trade that off for timing and doing a more truncated version of an investigation. And to your point, Commissioner O'Brien, it brings it into compliance with what we're doing on the other side. And we also did this by reg, so we have the right to do this. It's we're reading this in. So, all right. Any other comments? Anything else you need?
No, thank you. I just want to say thank you for giving us the time today to talk through all of this. We will work with legal to put together a draft reg and bring that back for the commission's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Director Monahan. All right. And thank you to all of the IEB team who briefed us in executive session. We appreciate that. All right, we're going to turn it over to item 5. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Interim General Counsel Stempek.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Today, we have a number of regs coming before you for initial promulgation. The first slate of regs are I'm handling in conjunction with the IEB and GEU. Sports wagering, these have to do with certain revisions to 205 CMR 24707 and 205 CMR 24810, having to do with account funding mechanisms. And what we're bringing before the commission today for the start of initial promulgation would be the striking of language in identical language in both regs that speaks to allowing for digital crypto and virtual currencies converted to cash to be used as a funding mechanism for sports wagering. There were a number of concerns raised about the utilization of cryptocurrency in particular in conversation with the IEB and GEU. So recognizing that some of this language had been put in place by GLI as a sort of starting point when sports wagering was initially launched without a robust discussion over the pros and cons of whether to accept cryptocurrency, the current recommendation, as I understand it from GEU, is to remove the language at present and perhaps reconsider it in the future. But I'll turn it over to IEB and GEU if they want to add any flavor to the conversation.
Yeah, I think echoing what Justin said, cryptocurrency is something that is decentralized. It's unregulated by any federal government. It's still in its infancy, considering the product. And at this point, I don't deem it to be an acceptable form of payment. It's not anonymous, but it's pseudo-anonymous, meaning you can string together a few numbers and letters, and that's your username. So although the blockchain is made public, it is something that is practically untraceable. And so we don't know where those funds are coming from. They certainly could be from ill-gotten gains, and that is something we don't want to have here in Massachusetts. I'll ask Kevin if he has anything to add.
No, I have nothing else. That covers it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Caitlin.
No, I think thank you, First Lieutenant Collette and Lieutenant Owen. I think, or Sergeant Owen, I'm sorry. I think that another reason that it makes sense to remove crypto from the options at this point in time, that may change in the future as crypto evolves and perhaps becomes regulated, is there's a big risk of AML and BSA violations with the use of crypto. So basically the bad guys use it to launder money, and then they launder that money through the sports wagering apps. And so, not allowing it in Massachusetts would be a way to sort of cut off that avenue for folks who want to launder money to do so. But that's the only addition I have to that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hill, though, I want to make sure on, can I don't like to do this, but I just want to make sure. Commissioner Skinner, is Commissioner Skinner on?
I made it on.
All right, so
Thank
there was
you.
a little bit of transfer issue where she was on the phone. And so I hate to do this, Commissioner Hill, but can we just back up and more so to those that just left? Caitlin, can we back up just to sub item D that we just finished?
Yes.
Because I want to make sure, Commissioner Skinner, did you have anything to add on the conversation around sports wagering vendor licenses?
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. I don't have anything to add. You know, I can go back and watch the discussion. Since I don't have the benefit of understanding what that was, but I'm going to let the executive session discussion, questions, and answers suffice.
Yeah, and just to bring up to speed, we, at least four of us agreed that we were okay with moving that timeline to reflect what's going on with the brick and mortars and to ensure that we're doing a fulsome investigation and not a truncated one. And so that was kind of what we said. And so I won't ask for a decision now or anything, but that's what was said. And so if you want to, at any point in the meeting, add or take away from that, just let us know. And we're sorry about that technical issue.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. But just make sure that that's noted for the next session, because I know we have a couple coming up later.
Thank you.
I can't move myself in and out of those sessions from the phone, unfortunately.
We'll work on that. We're sorry about that. All right. Well, thank you. And so now, Commissioner Hill, we just heard that conversation around crypto. I'll go to you.
I will let Commissioner O'Brien speak first, as I was going to make a motion to accept what is before us. I agree with it 100%. 2x2s really educated us on the issue, so I have no problem moving forward with what's being proposed. However, I did see Commissioner O'Brien had her mute button off, so before I make a motion, I obviously would let her speak.
So you just beat me to unmuting to move. So I will just,
Oh, go ahead.
I will
then.
lay in wait to second your motion. I agree with the request and the rationale for removing it from the reg. Absolutely.
Commissioner Broder.
Before we move, I had a question. I'm sorry, Chair. Oh, sorry. I
Go
can't
ahead.
see anybody, so I just wanted to jump in.
Go ahead.
My apologies. So one of the benefits of attending these conferences is you get to be privy to sort of the conversations of the moment. And one of those is cryptocurrency. And I have been made aware that there's federal legislation that was recently passed or is in the process. And so are we aware of that federal legislation? And my understanding, and I'm no crypto expert, sorry about the background noise, but it's my understanding that it's crypto unregulated right now, and there's a move toward regulation by this legislation. Do we have an understanding of how that might play into what we are proposing today?
Would you like me to take this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So Commissioner Skinner, yes, currently crypto is unregulated. I do understand that there is some legislation pending in Congress related to cryptocurrency. And I think that's one of the reasons why what we said is, right now, we don't think, I'll use Commissioner Hill's words, crypto is ready for prime time with regard to sports wagering. But in the future, it could be, right? If a comprehensive regulatory scheme is put in place, again, to deal with the anonymity issues, to deal with some of the laundering issues, to deal with the ability to get funds returned if they're stolen, then I think we would be more than willing to reconsider. It's just at this point in time, there are too many risks associated with it.
Okay, I don't disagree, but that's something that we'll likely need to watch for in the future as that legislation moves through the process. I'm not sure where it is right now, but I think we have some time. So I agree. Let's move forward with this. I think it makes eminent sense given all that you've presented and all I've heard in the 2x2.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner, and thank you for providing that perspective. Commissioner Broder, did you have anything to add?
Well, briefly, there's also an existing regulatory regime around CFTC and some SEC activity. I wouldn't put a lot, bluntly, wouldn't put a lot of faith in that. I am excited to push this forward because I would love to see if anyone from the crypto industry, if that's the way to say it, is going to weigh in as we move forward on this, because I think, as we sit here today, recognizing all things everyone said about, the current state of play, it's the right move. And we'll see if anyone weighs in to tell us anything to the contrary.
I'll add that I agree. I'm okay with moving forward in this vein. The thing that confused me about the reg to begin with is you can convert anything to cash and then use that cash to sports wager with it. And that could be a bobblehead doll, for example. And so I think making it clear that we're not encouraging that kind of direct use while there's still schematic issues in place on regulation of this market makes a lot of sense. So I'm ready for one of those motions and one of those seconds, whoever wants it.
So just so everybody understands, and I'm not sure if this was the legislation that Commissioner Skinner was talking about, but I believe the House, Senate, and President have signed into law something called the Genius Act. And I think that has to do with cryptocurrency. And that may be what was being talked about at the conference that Commissioner Skinner is attending. Not 100% sure, but I know within the last couple of weeks that Congress actually and President Trump actually signed into law a bill dealing with cryptocurrency. So just wanted to put that out there, that I think it actually moved its way through the legislative process. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 247.07 included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today, and further that staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. All right. I think we're sticking with Councilor Stempeck.
That vote was actually with respect to those two first regulations, A and B. So you'll actually be moving over to my colleague, Associate General Counsel Melanie Fox, to discuss some of the regulations she has for you today.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, Councilor Fox.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I will continue with two additional regulation amendments that are going to be for our initial presentation and a request for a vote to begin the promulgation process.
So can I, before you do that, can I just clarify, did we sufficiently vote on 248.10?
I don't think so.
I think we need to do that before we move on, because it was bifurcated. So we haven't actually voted on the 248.10, which I believe is cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so the cryptocurrency, the same language appears in two places. So we could absolutely do that, Commissioner O'Brien, and we should. If I may have just missed the first one, was just on the one section. It would be an identical motion just with respect to 205 CMR 248.10. We're covering the same provision in two separate places. So that's maybe where the
I just don't think we actually did the language.
No, thank you for pointing that out. So if we could move forward with, if someone could suggest a motion along 248.10, I think that'll cover us.
Yep, sure. I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 248.10 included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today. And further that staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. All right, now, Counselor Fox, we are ready.
As am I. So first, I'll discuss 205 CMR 141.06, Notice to Commission of Changes. The materials begin on page 76 of your packet, and the changes as presented in the red line and memorandum update the requirements for the surveillance of the gaming establishment. Specifically, it divides the notification requirement into two clearly defined sections. The first is advance notice and when that is required for movements or replacements of CCTV equipment, movement of slot machines, or table games. And the second is when notice upon discovery is required, and that is immediate notice upon discovery of equipment malfunctions. An additional revision was made to clarify when and how communication between surveillance and security should be documented. Namely, that if surveillance notifies security of an issue, the time of the communication should be recorded. If no such notification occurs, there would be nothing to document. So the clarification was provided with adding the term if applicable, specific to the equipment malfunction section. And in conclusion, the purpose of the amendment is to ensure adequate surveillance coverage of the casino, to clarify the requirements of notice to the commission as defined, and to comply with the best industry practices. If there are any questions, myself, Dave Diorio, as well as Director Monica Han of the IEB are present.
Commissioners, questions? We gonna make a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hill.
I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 141.06 included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today, and further that the staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes, 5-0. Thank you, Counselor Fox. Are you sticking? Who's got the next one?
You are stuck with me for the next one.
Nice. Not stuck. Have the privilege.
Have the privilege. The privilege is all mine. So the next regulation is 205 CMR 152.03, criteria for exclusion. The materials for this begin on page 80 of your packet. Under the proposed changes, in determining whether the potential of injurious threat to the interests of the Commonwealth exists in accordance with 205 CMR 152.03, Section 1, Sub E, the IAB may consider two new criteria for the exclusion of an individual. And as presented in the memorandum in the red line, the first is whether a person knowingly or negligently failed to prevent a minor under the age of 21 to place wagers or collect winnings from wagering on a sports wagering platform. And the second is whether a person's account has been suspended or terminated by a sports wagering operator due to suspected or confirmed underage activity, including the account holder's use of a payment method that is confirmed to be owned by a person under the age of 21. And the goals of this amendment are to strengthen enforcement against underage sports betting by clearly defining patron responsibilities, to ensure compliance with age restrictions, and when necessary, to give the IAB the ability to take appropriate action to prevent further violations. And that concludes this presentation. If there are any questions, myself, Carrie Teresi, as well as Kathleen Kramer, I believe, are present.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this particular exclusion conversation? I support it. That's all I'll say.
Same here.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I think this shows the value of a regulated marketplace. right? We can put tools in place to protect folks who are at risk of gambling harm. That doesn't exist in every marketplace.
I agree. I think we do a really good job here. I'm very proud of the commission. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 152.03 included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today. And further, that the staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, now I believe we're going to have to go into some executive sessions. Is that correct, Counselor?
Yes, so we have two different executive sessions. It probably makes sense to just read the language for both. We can go into one, we can handle everything, and we can come back out for community affairs.
All right, so let me do that. I'm going to read from E and F. First, with E, the commission anticipates that it will convene in an executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, in conjunction with its review of litigation strategy with respect to Robinhood Derivatives LLC v. Campbell et al. As discussion at an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the commission. Would we like to enter into executive session to talk about Robinhood?
I move that the commission enter into executive session on the matter and for the reasons just stated by the chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes, 5-0. All right, let me read in sub-item F. The commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session to review minutes from previous executive sessions, as their discussion at an open meeting may frustrate the intended purpose for which the executive session was convened. Pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, and General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, 26N, that's January 18th, 2024 at 11:23 a.m., General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, and General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, 26F. That's January 18th, 2024 at 12:23 p.m. And General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6. That's January 18th, 2024 at 4:06 p.m. Would we like to enter in to discuss those minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. All right, we will return to the public after these two executive sessions. All right, Connor. We just left an two executive sessions technically to discuss some minutes as well as some litigation strategy. That leaves us on item number 6. And for that, we are going to turn it over. There's Chief Delaney to Chief Delaney in the Community Affairs Division.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. So the first item we have up for you today are the draft fiscal year 2027 Community Mitigation Fund guidelines. We are not asking for a vote today. If you folks are all set with the guidelines, we just ask that you approve them to put out for public comment. What we do is we go out to public comment, then revise, then we come back for a final vote in early November. So, we took the input from the commissioners at the last couple of meetings that we had on this and from our local community mitigation advisory committees and have come up with our guidelines. And what
Chief
you'll
Delaney,
see.
1 second. Let's make sure
Sure.
Commissioner Skinner made it over.
I'm here, Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief Delaney.
So what you'll see is that there are really not a whole lot of changes to the guidelines themselves as to what projects are eligible or communities or project categories, things of that nature. What you will see is the primary change, of course, is to the grant amounts. Attachment A of the guidelines outlines the proposed grant amounts for each community. And so what we basically did was we took the amount of money that we had available last year and we prorated it to the amount that we have available this year. And so last year we had programmed about $19.5 million. This year we have $5 million available. So when you do the math on that, that comes out to basically grants for this year will be equivalent to about 25.64% of the grants that were issued in 2026. So what that does is that results in, for Region A, last year there was about $11.5 million. This year it goes to $2.9 million. The Category 2 area, we had about $500,000. Now it's $128,000. Region B, we had 4.3 million and it's now 1.1 million. And for the regional agencies, we have set aside just about $820,000 for the regional agencies. So for the municipal block grants, we used the exact same formula that we had last year. So we took last year's numbers for the grants and we multiplied them by 25.64%, and that's what it is for this year. With the regional agency grants, that was a little more difficult because we didn't really have a true formula for that. But given the fact that we have about $820,000 and we had grants in a number of different categories, what we have done here is the commission indicated that workforce development grants and public safety grants were the top 2 priorities of the commission. So in those, what we did was we tried to preserve as much of the money as we could in those categories. So what we did was we set a cap on the workforce development grants of $300,000, one for Region A, one for Region B, as we've always done in the past. And then for the public safety grants, we had a cap of $100,000 last year, but we dropped that down to $75,000, and that's primarily for the district attorney's offices. We did lower the regional planning agencies from $250,000 down to $75,000. We're not really sure if, depending upon how the applications come in, there may or may not be money available for the regional planning agencies. And with the Attorney General, we had never put a limit on their funding, but we'll usually have a conversation with them ahead of time and see what they're thinking about coming in for, and we can talk with them about, how much funding is available. One of the key concerns that was brought up by the commission when we discussed the policy questions was that if a truly impactful project came in, the commission wanted to basically be able to reserve the right to fund that project if it was really a truly impactful type of project. In looking back at our old guidelines, the commission actually has always had the ability to do that. But for this year, we clarified that language a little bit, and I'll just read what we put in. And we put this in a couple of different places in the guidelines, just so the applicants are aware of this provision. And it says here that the commission reserves the right to prioritize applications and determine which requests to fund based on its assessment of a broad range of factors, including the extent of the public benefit each grant is likely to produce. The commission also reserves the ability to fund only portions of requested projects or to fund only a percentage of amounts requested. So, that basically gives the commission the right to move money around if they really see fit. We haven't really run into a circumstance like that in the past, but certainly it is available to the commission to do so. And then a couple of other small things. Previously, we had an item in there that talked about suggested grant spending, where we wanted the communities to try to spread the money around to the different categories of grants. Since the grants are significantly reduced this year, we got rid of that language. We think, most of these grants might be just 1 or 2 projects and not really like the 4 or 5 or 6 projects we might have seen in years past. And then the last one is we did modify the language on the use of the financial waiver. If you recall, last year, communities took advantage of that financial waiver and did receive some significant additional monies because of that. Since we are programming all of the money towards communities and regional agencies for this year, we don't expect that there will be much, if any, available money for waivers. So what we have told our communities and our regional agencies in the guidelines is that they really cannot be relying on any kind of a financial waiver. We only see a couple of scenarios where financial waivers could be available. If a community doesn't come in for money, that money could be freed up for another community, or if the commission, denied a project, said it wasn't eligible, those monies could be made available to other communities. But if that happens, we certainly expect those numbers to be quite small. So in your package, you've got a red line copy of the guidelines and a clean copy of them. I won't go through the particulars, but the highlights that we just went through here are really the main changes. And as I said, you'll look through it, and really most of the changes are simply dates and things of that nature, other than these particular things that we talked about. So with that, I guess I will open it up for questions or comments, or if there are any changes that the commission would like to see. And then if you could just let us know if you're ready for us to move ahead and put this out for public comment.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hill.
Joe, thank you for the presentation, and thank you for listening to our concerns during our 2x2s and putting language into that I think adheres to the concerns that we had. I have no problem moving this forward. I wish we had more money. This is the hand we were dealt, no pun intended. And I think we're doing what we can do with what is available to us. So with the proposal that's before us, Mr. Chairman, I'm okay moving forward for the public to voice their opinions on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner O'Brien.
Same.
I'll double click that. It's not the best situation to be in, but it's the situation we're in. I will say that what we are attempting to do for the public is to be as equitable as possible with the resources we have. Commissioner Skinner, Commissioner Broder.
I have nothing to add, Chair. I'm okay with moving forward and putting this out to public comment.
Thank you.
Same, agreed. Tempted to make a let the chips fall where they may, to reflect on Brad's the cards we were dealt comment, but that probably doesn't add much value to the conversation.
Well, that's, if you want a non-value part of the conversation, is to those of us who serve with Commissioner Hill. He has a set of poker chips on his table, and he's oftentimes fidgeting with them, and I can hear them from my office. So there you go. There's the sensible.
All connects.
All right. Do you have what you need, Chief Delaney?
I do. So we will get that out either today or tomorrow, as quickly as Mary can get it to the folks to get that up online. I think we want to definitely have it up by tomorrow. We're putting it up for 2 weeks of public comment. And then we should be back in front of the commission at the first meeting in November for final approval. But so next up we have some reappointments for local community mitigation advisory committee members and the subcommittee. So the commission has a few appointees on the local community mitigation advisory committees that need to be re-upped every year. You have a memo in there that describes who the folks are, and all of these folks have been on the LCMACs for quite some time and have served very well. And we are recommending that all of these folks be reappointed. So in the Region A LCMAC, we have Vincent Panzini, who's the Chamber of Commerce representative. We have David Bancroft, who is a regional economic development organization member. He works for Mass Development. And in Region B, we have Joan Kagan Levine as a human service provider. We have Ellen Potashnik also as a human service provider. We have Richard Sullivan, Regional Economic Development Organization member. And we have Robin Wozniak, who is the West of the River Chamber of Commerce member. So we are recommending all of those folks to be reappointed. The one other thing is on the subcommittee on community mitigation under the GPAC, a member of the commission has typically been appointed to that subcommittee. And for the last couple of years, it was Commissioner Hill. So I would ask that the commission appoint a member. It could be Commissioner Hill or another commissioner if they are interested in serving.
Mr. Chairman, I'm more than happy to be reappointed. However, I have been doing it for a couple of years, and I have no problem sharing this responsibility or allowing someone else to take part in this position if they so chose to do so.
I'm happy to. I'm off mute. Okay. Commissioners, anybody want to raise their hand? Or are we happy with keeping Commissioner Hill on there? How do we want to move forward? We'll deal with that piece first before we deal with the broader group. Commissioner Hill, if you want to keep serving on it, I'm happy to have that.
Perfect.
I agree. And the sign of true leadership is giving opportunities to folks that are willing to step away. So I say we keep on with Commissioner Hill, assuming his willingness, of course.
All right. Sounds like that part's settled. Do we have a vote scheduled for the other members?
Yes, I think we have a single motion for all of the appointments.
Can I ask a quick question before we vote, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Broder.
So, Joe, how do folks know that this opportunity might be available other than the folks that are already on the inside?
So pretty much Mary is, she works with all of these folks and she reaches out to different people and you know, these LCMACs have been pretty stable for a number of years.
Yeah.
So, you know, when someone leaves, we usually ask if anybody else has anybody else in mind or whatever the case may be. I think, you know, so we just kind of keep our ear to the ground in the area and you know, there's usually someone able to step up. We have had some difficulties in filling some of the subcommittee on community mitigation members where we have gubernatorial appointees that we have not been able to fill. So that's been a little bit more difficult.
And just to be clear, I'm grateful for the folks that have stepped up to participate in this process, and the resumes or descriptions of qualifications that you shared with the commission are terrific. It was not to cast aspersions on anyone that's currently serving, just more curious about recruitment. Thank you.
And I can speak to that, having been former chief secretary, Commissioner, or Chief Delaney. You have to prioritize appointments, and when you have 4,500 of them and 800 boards, so we understand that those are still to come. All right. Anything else? Do we have a motion?
I would normally do this, Mr. Chairman. However, because my name is going to be part of the motion, I thought maybe another commissioner would do the motion instead.
Did George Washington nominate himself? I'm going to have to go look it up. All right. Commissioners.
I move that the commission reappoint, and forgive me in advance if I am mispronouncing anyone's name, Joe, for my apologies to them. Vincent Panzini and David Bancroft to the Region A Local Community Mitigation Advisory Committee. Reappoint Joan Kagan-Levine, Ellen Potashnik, and Richard K. Sullivan Jr., and Robin Wozniak to the Region B Local Community Mitigation Advisory Committee, all for a term of 1 year. And further, that Commissioner Brad Hill be designated as the Commission's representative on the Subcommittee on Community Mitigation.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0.
And perfect pronunciation, Commissioner O'Brien. So the last item we have up for you is the town of East Long Meadow. They have some money left in their original reserve grant. It's about $13,800 left in that grant. And they would like to use that towards a project that they started with their fiscal year 2025 grant in doing a visual assessment and analysis of parcels in the center town district. So this area, the center town district is, they've been looking at this for a while, trying to build sort of apartments and multi-use businesses there that would hopefully attract some of the folks that might be going to work at the casino to come live in East Long Meadow. And so we really like that project, and we are recommending allowing these funds to be transferred to that other project that they have already begun from the 2025 grant.
Commissioner
Mr.
Hill.
Chairman, I move that the commission approve the town of East Long Meadow's request to reallocate the funding remaining in its reserve grant in the amount of $13,801.67 toward funding the development of a visual assessment and analysis of parcels in the center of town district in connection with its FY25 Community Mitigation Fund grant, which included funds for development of a parcel inventory and site readiness assessment as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Any discussion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Did that with a single breath. That's impressive.
Okay, perfect. All right. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. Thank you, Chief Delaney, and thank you, Mary, for all your hard work. And I want to thank everyone who serves unpaid on that subcommittee for doing that work. And we really, truly appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you. So that completes our items for today.
All right, thank you. The next item is item number 7. And for that, we're going to kick it over to Chief Lennon. I see Derek's already ready to go.
You betcha. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm joined by Douglas O'Donnell and John Scully, and we are here to present the FY25 Quarter 4 Closeout Report for the Gaming Control Fund the Sports Wagering Control Fund, and the Racing Oversight and Development Trust Fund. Our presentation begins on page 171 of the public meeting packet. After 3/4 of adjustments, the FY25 Gaming Control Fund had an approved budget of $40.02 million. The budget funded our regulatory operations, the Commonwealth's assessed indirect costs, the enforcement activities of the Attorney General's Office, and the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission. Final spending in the fund was $37.83 million, which was $2.18 million under the approved budget. As a reminder, the AG's office was working with us for an additional funding request at the close of FY25, which is why you see such a high reversion in this account. That request required statutory language changes. Those changes did not come through until the final supplemental bill, which happened after the close of the fiscal year, and after conversations with the Attorney General's office, they do not need that money to close out FY25, but we'll be looking to utilize that additional funding in FY26, which was included in our FY26 budget. Revenue estimates for the Gaming Control Fund were $39.87 million. Final collections totaled $39.8 million, which was just 17 basis points off of our projections. The tables on page 172 and 173 of the packet show variances to spending and revenue estimates in the Gaming Control Fund. Revenue of $39.8 million combined with spending of $37.83 million results in a $1.97 million surplus for FY25 in the Gaming Control Fund. 205 CMR 121 instructs the Commission on what to do with surplus revenues at the close of the fiscal year. Specifically, it requires the Commission to provide a credit to licensees for the subsequent fiscal year assessment in proportion to how they were billed for the assessment in the closeout year. So a credit for FY26 in proportion to how we billed them in FY25. The tables on page 174 of the packet show each licensee's proportional share of the FY25 surplus, which will be credited to their FY26 assessment. Moving to the Racing Oversight Fund, the currently approved FY25 budget was $2.12 million, relying on $2.2 million in fees and assessments. Final spending was $2.18 million. However, that included payments back to tracks for their unclaimed tickets, commonly referred to as outs. If you exclude those amounts because they're revenue neutral, final spending was $164.7 thousand under the $2.12 million budget. Revenues in the Racing Oversight Fund were $2.57 million, which is $329,000 over estimates. However, we collected $340,000 in unclaimed tickets in FY25. After reducing for the unclaimed tickets, racing revenues were $11,000 below revised estimates, which once again is less than 0.5% off of our estimates. We're talking basis points versus percents. Revenue of $2.57 million, less spending of $2.18 million leaves a surplus of $396,000 in the Racing Oversight Fund. However, $120,000 of that surplus needs to be transferred to the Racing Stabilization Fund. Thus, the unrestricted surplus in racing that balances into FY26 is $276,000. Racing and spending revenue tables are found on pages 175 and 176 of the packet. Finally, the Sports Wagering Control Fund's revised FY25 budget was $11.66 million. Final spending in the fund was $10.69 million, which was $972,000 under the approved spending level. Much of the underspending had to do with a topic that we talked about earlier today. So durability investigations have gone on a little longer than expected, which has resulted in delays to vendor suitability reviews. We extended those suitability reviews out to 5 years, the license time out to 5 years, and that will help us to kind of allocate this funding across years and do those reviews in a timely fashion. Revenue in the Gaming Control Fund exceeded projections by $1.1 million, with all of that additional revenue being in suitability review revenue from sports wagering operators. So there was a $200,000 initial fee. Any costs of the suitability review in addition to that $200,000 have to be billed in additional increments. Final revenue of 12.75 million combined with final spending of 10.69 million in the fund results in a surplus of 2 million. However, 683,000 of that surplus is tied to operator suitability deposits, and that's restricted revenue. After reducing for the operator suitability deposits, the sports wagering control fund unrestricted surplus is 1.375 million. 205 CMR 221 dictates how the commission handles surplus revenue in the fund, and the table on page 179 of the memo shows each operator's share of this FY25 surplus, which will be credited to their FY26 assessment. This currently ends our presentation for the FY25 closeout report, and we're here to take any questions you may have, or we can kick it right over to John Scully for the Q1 FY26 budget update.
Commissioners, any questions on the closeout from 2025? All right, I think we'll kick it over to Scully to talk about 2026.
Right, Scully here. All right, hello, Chair and Commissioners. I'm joined here today by CFAO Derek Lennon and our Revenue Manager Douglas O'Donnell. Today, we are presenting the FY26 first quarter budget update. I will try to keep this brief and try not to be repetitive, as the assessment updates discussed in this memo are driven by the closeout report that Derek just presented, and we are still very early into the fiscal year for significant spending updates and adjustments at this time. Excuse me. As a quick reminder, on 7/1/25, the Commission approved the FY26 budget totaling $69.96 million and funding around 144 FTEs. This budget funded gaming, racing, community mitigation, sports wagering, and research and responsible gaming regulatory oversight. The breakout by appropriation is on page 1 of the memo. For the Gaming Control Fund, staff continue to monitor spending in areas of exposure, such as ongoing projects like the LMS implementation, which is still in its early stages. Due to the surplus carried forward, we are not recommending any budgetary increases at this time. 205 CMR 121 allows for adjustments to the assessment as a result of surplus. Now that we've received the final actual gaming positions as of 7/1, gaming licensees assessments will be rebalanced proportionally, as well as public health trust fund contributions. The net result is a reduction to the Gaming Control Fund assessment of 1.97 million, bringing it down to 35 million. For the Racing Development and Oversight Trust, there are no changes recommended at this time, and staff will continue to stay on top of spending. For the Sports Wagering Control Fund, we will continue to track costs for the LMS implementation and work with various divisions, as there are still initiatives ongoing, such as suitability reviews. 205 CMR 221 calls for credits to assessments for sports wagering operators as a result of surplus revenues from prior years. In addition, final sports wagering revenue numbers are now in for FY25. Douglas O'Donnell and the revenue team will utilize these figures to generate revised FY26 assessments to the Sports Wagering Fund and Public Health Trust Fund from sports wagering operators based on the proportional share of FY25 adjusted gross sports wagering receipts. The net result is a reduction to the Sports Wagering Control Fund assessment of 1.37 million, bringing it down to 11.5 million. To wrap up, staff are not currently recommending any increases to the Gaming Control Fund, Racing Development Oversight Trust Fund, and Sports Wagering Control Fund at this time. Gaming licensees will receive a credit to their assessment totaling 1.97 million, and sports wagering operators will also receive a credit to their assessment totaling 1.37 million. We will continue to monitor spending, especially around any larger initiatives, for any potential needed adjustment in future quarters. Thank you, and I now turn it over to the commissioners for any further questions or comments.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions on Q1 or statements? Thank you for updating us. I just can't call you John. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Scully works. I'm used to it.
All right. Any other
Yeah.
questions, comments?
Chair, I'd just like to say thank you to the team again, especially with me doing split duties this year. And, you know, I think it's been a challenging year with some of the requests that were put on at the end of the year, and the team did a great job pulling through and getting it all done. And I just want to say thank you to the you know, division heads, the finance team, and the commission for working with us, and Treasurer O'Brien in her capacity during FY25.
And then it's thank you, Treasurer O'Brien, and then Treasurer Skinner.
Correct. Treasurer Skinner helped us with these reports to get these all closed out, and she will be keeping a close eye on us in FY26 with some of our bill paying initiatives that we're going through.
You know it. I learned from the best, Commissioner Hill, Treasurer Hill.
That's why we're a body of five, right? So thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Treasurer Skinner. Thank you, Treasurer O'Brien, Treasurer Hill, all the treasurers that have been at it. All right, and thank you to the team. We appreciate, you know, oftentimes what you do goes kind of under the radar, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. All right. Thank you, Chief Lennon and Scully and Doug and everyone else. All right, commissioners, that takes us to item number 8. Do we have any commissioner updates? All right, do we have any other business we've not anticipated? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. Everyone enjoy this little bit blustery day in New England, and good luck while you're out there learning, Commissioner Skinner. We appreciate you doing that. Have a good day.
Oh.